The book I read was called The Wizard of Lies, and it was by Diana B. Henriquez. And it was about Bernie Madoff and the investment scandal that he's associated with and famous for. Um, he ran a Ponzi scheme, which is where you get money from investors and then they refer new investors until you're paying off the old investors with the new investors' money. And it can get really big. Bernie Madoff eventually lost $65 million, $65 billion of other people's money. One of the reasons he got away with it was because he was one of the most trusted people on Wall Street, and he was actually the chairman of Securities Industry and Financial Markets Association, which is one of the biggest financial groups for Wall Street. That's the first slide, by the way. Okay. The Wizard of Lies basically went through and told about Bernie Madoff's struggle from a personal perspective. She went off interviews from his family and friends and people who invested and people who were involved with the scandal, and even his wife. Madoff made his business look legitimate by faking stock market reports, and he actually had different traders in different rooms that he would use to trick the people who came in because they suspected something. So the whole thing was basically a huge lie to all of his investors. The book goes from the start of when he allegedly began the Ponzi scheme instead of a legitimate business, and it goes to the trial, which Madoff was eventually sentenced to 150 years in jail after. It also asks questions like, why didn't the SEC catch him sooner? Because there were a ton of people who reported him to the SEC, and they just didn't pay attention, or they trusted him too much to believe that he would do something like that. Now onto the ethics slide. Dr. Weiser said that ethics in business is balancing what is profitable with what is right, but Madoff obviously ignored this because he lost $60 billion of other people's money, and it was very unethical the way he did it. It was, again, basically a huge lie. Cost-benefit analysis is defined as a systematic process in which the benefits and costs of a proposed investment are calculated and compared to reach a rational decision on whether to invest. And Dr. Weiser says a rational decision is when the benefits of the investment outweigh the cost. And a lot of investors, went through this analysis and decided that because Madoff paid off so much and on time, and they trusted him, that the benefits of that were greater than the cost of investing their money in someone who wasn't actually legitimate. Rational choice theory is a lot like cost-benefit analysis. It's a framework for understanding and formally modeling social and economic behavior. So it's more like the psychology behind cost-benefit analysis. And it's based on the theory of wanting more rather than less, which is very rational and something that all humans think about. His investors, they had money sitting around and they wanted to invest it because they wanted more rather than less of their money. A lot of Madoff investors, their behavior can be explained by the theories of consumer behavior. And Dr. Weiser outlines this in his Marketing Behavior and Theory podcast, and says there are 6 steps to consumer behavior, and that is recognition of a problem or opportunity, which is basically where an investor decides, hey, I think I want to invest this money, it's a solution to a problem that I have, or it's an opportunity to get more money. The search is, you look for options to answer the first question. Evaluation of alternatives is where you research and try and determine which one is best for your situation. Purchase decision is when you decide to invest. The purchase act is the act of purchasing, like on the stock market, or in Madoff's case, investing in his hedge fund. The post-purchase evaluation is where you decide whether or not it was a wise decision to put your money there, and obviously a lot of investors in Madoff, their initial post-purchase evaluation was positive, but it eventually became very negative when they lost all of their money. Diversity and stereotyping. Madoff was of Jewish ancestry. He was a white man, and both those stereotypes are known, perhaps incorrectly, as being good with money, and he was also incredibly wealthy, and so being in that socioeconomic status, people were more willing to invest in him. Personal experience I have with a situation like this is my grandparents several years ago were trying to decide whether to invest in a close family friend's new business, which was not actually a business, but a Ponzi scheme, and he was fortunately reported by other people, and the fraud was discovered early enough that my grandparents were able to really evaluate that and decide not to invest. And that is my presentation. Thank you.